This honor of presenting an award named for one of basketball's great coaches to one of basketball's great coaches was made a lot easier for me because of a regular ritual I'm lucky enough to be part of with another of the game's great coaches. Every 2 weeks, a crew of former St. John's players and assistant coaches have lunch with Lou Carnesecca, a meal you can imagine is full of laughs, learning, and love. This past week, I let the group know what I was going to be doing tonight, and I had plenty of material for us to stay around for a while. When LoBalbo's name is mentioned among St. John's people, the talk immediately turns to a remembrance of a man who was so important to that program at a time of its greatest success. All Coach Carnesecca does is smile and shrug his shoulders, his way of saying there's nothing else to be said. The players start telling their favorite stories with Coach Lowe, and almost all the stories are from practice, one of the great compliments a coach can receive because that's the teacher's time in the classroom. Then came the talk about Hubie Brown. Coach Carnesecca leaned forward in his seat and rasped, "A coach's coach, a real Jersey guy." Jerry Houston, the captain of the 1965 St. John's team, said he remembered the first time he saw Hubie Brown was at a coach's clinic in Cherry Hill, New Jersey in 1974. He said a few rows over from him in the stands were 4 nuns who were writing down everything being said. He said that when Hubie started his session, it was obvious he was watching what he said because of the coaches who were wearing habits. He said Hubie's language was tempered, but Coach Brown didn't seem himself, like a big part of his clinic repertoire was missing. Finally, Hubie looked at the nuns apologetically and said, "Hey, we're here to talk basketball, and that means you're going to hear some words that wouldn't be in your normal vocabulary." Now we're all left to wonder what those words were. Billy Schaefer, one of St. John's best players in the early 70s, said he was on the New York Nets, and they were playing Hubie's Kentucky Colonels. The Colonels had a horrible first half, and the Nets had a comfortable lead, so their locker room was upbeat at halftime. Suddenly, they heard the voice of a man who was not enjoying his night. Billy said, "We could hear him yelling from 3 rooms away. We told Coach Carnesecca to hold up with his talk for a second because Hubie hadn't yelled at the big man yet, and we really wanted to hear that one." Hubie Brown is a coach. He is a coach's coach. He is a player's coach. He is our coach. Anybody who has listened to Hubie as a TV analyst is smarter for having paid attention to him. No one breaks down the game like he does. It's as if we get a personal clinic, only we don't hear the same things the nuns heard. Think about this. Hubie Brown is a 2-time NBA Coach of the Year, a short, impressive list to be sure. Then add this into the mix. He won the awards 26 years apart. His first came in 1978 with the Atlanta Hawks. The world went through some embarrassing fashion trends. Everyone who has a leisure suit in their closet, raise their hand. Through plenty of music trends that we listened to on hi-fi stereos, then Walkmans, then iPods. The country went through 5 presidents and the horror of terrorism threats before he won his second award with Memphis in 2004. That's a coach for all ages, a coach for all time. When Hubie Brown was introduced in St. Louis in 2005 for the first time as a member of the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, the first name he mentioned was LoBalbo. What an honor that day, what an honor tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the recipient of the LoBalbo Award, Hubie Brown.
Thank you. I'm deeply honored to be here this evening. In my life, I've been fortunate to have 2 male men be a major influence on what I've accomplished or not accomplished, but mostly accomplished. And it's my father, Charlie Brown, and LoBalbo. It's 1947. And this man comes to a little school in Elizabeth, New Jersey called St. Mary's. And when he came, I had no idea, because we were incoming freshmen, that he was going to be my mentor in the sports world. What he brought with his presence was a passion, because he coached football, basketball, and baseball. He brought a passion for the sports. He brought a discipline, a hard work ethic, and then most of all, the word accountability back when we had no idea what the word even meant. He had all of that, and it forced team chemistry, and then also the fact that people became unselfish playing the sports at the school that I was representing. Now you have to understand that we only had 400 kids in the high school, 9 through 12, and only 200 boys. But in my senior year, he was the head football coach, and we won the North Jersey Catholic Parochial School State Championship. Our basketball team was 23-0, and we won the city championship, the county championship in Union County, and the state championship. And that was the first of his 8 state championship teams in 10 years. And he was also the head baseball coach. Now, as a player, you cannot miss the discipline. You cannot miss the organization. You cannot miss what he inspired in you for this little school on the hill, because back then, there were no leagues. You played independent. And at his funeral, I gave the eulogy, and for all the people in the church that didn't really know him, and for all these guys who play basketball here, who are here tonight, he was a better football coach than he was a basketball coach. And we got the same laugh at the church, by the way. What he brought, he was the master teacher. And he infected all of us who later became coaches in all of the 3 sports. Because he was the master teacher in the classroom. He taught history to seniors, problems of American democracy. And then he was the master teacher in football, basketball, and baseball, because everything was, like on the trophy here, excellence. Everything was speed. Everything was execution. Everything was accountability, team play. He just burned it into our hearts. Now, I was fortunate to play for him 3 sports. He affected my life. And when I was going away to coach my first coaching job, I played high school and college. I played basketball and baseball for 4 years. And I took a job because I was going to be drafted within a year. And I took a little job up in St. Mary's High School in Little Falls, New York, a little town of 9,000 people. So the day before I leave, we meet, and he says to me, I want you to listen to what I'm going to tell you, because this is the foundation of 32 years of coaching. He said, number 1, remember the first time they see you dictates the practice, dictates the game, dictates the tone. So when you come through that door, whether it's for the game or whether it's for the practice, it's dictated by their first look at you. So make sure that you have your 5x8 card with your lesson plan for the day. And then remember, the key to being a good coach is to be an innovator and a risk taker. Don't be worrying about being different. Always remember that when you put the time in to strain their potential, but in team philosophies, be an innovator and be a risk taker, and don't be worrying what other people are saying about your style. When you deal with the player, be fair. You're an A personality. He said, be fair, but be constructive. If you're going to chew out a kid, you've got to teach him before you move on. And remember that in your relationships with the player. Now he says, for you, you have a very loud voice. Refrain from using the whistle. He says, if you coach football, which I did for 9 years in high school, he said, only use it on the sleds. Make them respect your voice. And for all of you guys in basketball, you know the next thing. Freeze them with your eyes. And anyone who ever played for LoBalbo's knows that he could come into a locker room at halftime and just walk around and not say a word, but stare into your soul so you would admit your mistakes to yourself. And he hadn't even said a word. And he would just walk around, say a few words, always kick the equipment box on his way out. And it was amazing how he could reach you. But it was always with, and I loved it, make them respect your appearance, make them respect your voice, and then make them respect yourself, because you're coming prepared and you are going to stretch their potential on a daily basis. Now for me, it's 32 years of being a coach, 25 years of doing NBA games in the playoffs on national television, and also as a speaker to corporations, but most of all, as a clinician. I patterned my life as a clinician after LoBalbo's, because he was the master teacher academically, he was the master teacher in sports, but as the basketball clinician, he took ball you man, and for all of you who are not basketball people, in 1950-51, he came back. I have no idea where he was in the summer, because for 3 years, I was the front of the 1-2-2 zone that we played. Now, for you guys who played basketball, you know I had to do this when I said zone, okay? And he came back with this new thing, ball you man. He changed basketball at the high school, college, and professional level from basketball at the defensive end of the court. Anyone who was around New Jersey in the 50s, where his high school teams won 8 state championships in 10 years, and then the biggest tournament in the country was up in Newport, Rhode Island, and St. Mary's went up there twice, and he won the tournament 2 years against the top 16 parochial schools in America. And the trophy said that if you won it 3 years in a row, you retired the trophy. Well, they didn't get invited back their third year, and that was his best team, okay? So for me tonight, to receive this award, I would like to thank the people who voted. I would like to thank and congratulate the people who are inducted into the Fairleigh Dickinson Hall of Fame this evening. It's a special time for you all, and I would just like to say to you, for me, it's an honor, because I can never say it enough. Charlie Brown and LoBalbo's made me what I am today from male contribution. Thank you.